Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. And today, or yesterday if you're in the North American server, is the release date of patch 0.8.8, the 4th anniversary of World of Warships. And today's video has absolutely nothing to do with that. There are new premium ships available. You can get the Ohio, you can get the Thunderer, the Yudachi is on sale. There are 2 new versions of Ranked Sprint. There's Clan Brawl in 3 versus 3 format. Audio and graphical enhancements. The new clouds in particular look amazing, especially as they cast shadows on the battlefield. All kinds of new stuff, none of which is applicable to today's video. Because this is JBM 1972, who I'm going to call Jim, because, to be quite frank, Dave's been getting far too much of the limelight lately, and he is in the Kamikaze, a ship that's been around for at least 3 years. In fact, the Kamikaze is such a competitive and popular Tier 5 premium Japanese destroyer that Wargaming have made it possible to buy this ship. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. We have the Kamikaze, we have the Kamikaze R, which is exactly the same but with a different skin, and we have the Fujin, which is exactly the same but with a different Halloween-themed skin. Outside of containers, it's no longer possible to get the Kamikaze R or the Fujin because they were promotional premium ships, but every now and then the old Kamikaze does still go on sale in the premium shop. So what's so special about the Kamikaze that they've sold it 3 times? Well, it's mostly about the torpedoes, and the speed, and the stealth, but not the guns. Definitely not the guns. These torpedoes have a 7-kilometer range, but more importantly, they're very, very fast, which at ranges like that makes it extremely difficult to dodge them. 7-kilometer range, 14,000 damage per torpedo, and a speed of 68 knots. Now, the Kamikaze, one of the 2 non-premium Tier 5 Japanese destroyers upon which the Fujin, the Kamikaze, and the Kamikaze R are based, has a lot in common with these premium ships. It also has a surface detection range of 6.2 kilometers, and torpedoes that have a 7-kilometer range. But the Kamikaze's torpedoes do 4,000 damage less and are 11 knots slower. The Kamikaze's torpedoes do reload slightly faster, but we're only talking a couple of seconds here, and well, it only takes the Kamikaze 47 seconds to reload its torpedoes anyway before you start factoring in various different commander skills like torpedo armament expertise, which shave a further 10% off that anyway. The guns, however, are pretty bad. I mean, they hit barely hard. Most Japanese destroyers do have guns that hit very hard with high explosive shells. The high explosive shells can do up to 2,000 damage per hit. And if you find yourself in the position of having these notoriously slow turning guns, which take 25 seconds to rotate 180 degrees, pointing at the target anyway, and they're otherwise occupied, well, why not use them? Although you won't be using them too often, because they do have a 10-second reload. And if you're thinking, wow, that sounds pretty slow, you're right, because there aren't that many Tier 5 cruisers that have guns that take longer to reload than that. But nobody buys a Kamikaze in order to go out and get into gunfights. This thing is definitely all about the torpedoes. Now, you've probably noticed that this is a double carrier game, which is normally extremely bad news for destroyers, and yes, he is spotted by aircraft, but well, generally the advice that you give to destroyer players since the aircraft carrier rework is to start the game with your anti-aircraft guns turned off. That doesn't really matter in the Kamikaze. I mean, if you're in the Shimakaze at Tier 10, which has an air detection range of 3.38 kilometers but has anti-aircraft guns that will begin swatting ineffectually at aircraft at a range of 5 kilometers, yes, you probably want to turn your anti-aircraft guns off unless you want to just telegraph your position to any aircraft within 5 kilometers. But the Kamikaze's anti-aircraft guns consist of 2 7.7mm machine guns. Yes, the same caliber weapons as a Japanese sailor with a rifle. And while the Kamikaze will be spotted from the air at a range of 2.5 kilometers, unless of course you have the concealment expert skill, and yes, Jim has the concealment expert skill, the anti-aircraft guns will only start shooting at a range of 1. So it doesn't really matter whether you turn them off or not. because your ship's going to be spotted from the air 1.5 kilometers sooner than your anti-aircraft guns are going to be able to do anything about it. Or more accurately, not do anything about it, because they're just a pair of 7.7mm machine guns. And even if and when you do get spotted by aircraft, with the 2.5 kilometer base air detection range, that's normally too close for the aircraft to actually be able to do anything about it. So the Kamikaze is a good ship, but you'd be pretty short-sighted if you're just looking at the ship's stats in isolation, because it's not just about the ship, it's about what the ship has to fight. And since it's only tier 5, well, that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a bad thing because tier 5 is the first tier at which you lose your protected matchmaking status. You may not be aware, but ships tier 4 and below only have a 1-tier matchmaking spread, so it can be fairly brutal when you do get to tier 5 and suddenly potentially you're fighting ships that are 2 tiers higher than you. But this is a destroyer, not a cruiser. It's always got that smokescreen to hide in, and it's incredibly stealthy anyway. Now, the plus side of only being a tier 5 destroyer is not just limited to the probability that many of the people that you're going to be playing against are likely to still be relatively new to the game and don't understand the perils of approaching angry smokescreens, but also the technical capabilities of the ships that you're going to be facing. Because most of them, well, a lot of them, are probably not going to have the hydroacoustic search consumable, and very few of them, aside from a couple of tier 7 premiums, are going to have radar. So what you have here is a very good tier 5 destroyer. It's good in just about all respects other than its guns. It's stealthy, it's fast, it has hard-hitting, fast reloading, long range and quick torpedoes. It's very maneuverable, and while its anti-aircraft guns are a joke, it doesn't really seem to matter. I mean, the biggest threat that enemy aircraft are likely to pose to you in this thing is spotting you for enemy cruisers and other enemy destroyers that actually have decent guns, but hell, that's what your smokescreen's for. And the majority of the opponents that you're going to be facing are either not really going to have the tools to counter stealthy destroyers, or if they do, there's a reasonable chance that a lot of them are probably not really going to know how to use those tools properly. So, is it any wonder that the Kamikaze is such a wildly popular tier 5 premium? And of course its 2 promotional sister ships, the Kamikaze R and the Fujin. And yes, I have all 3. And I do feel quite dirty about it, because this really is like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, check out the enemy Hosho, for example. Let's not judge him too harshly. He only has 104 games played, 42 in aircraft carriers. I mean, Jim's even been spotted, but do you really think that's even going to make a difference? The Hosho doesn't even have his engines running. I mean, we're not judging him here, he's a very new player, but, you know, like I said, fish in a barrel. I don't know if you caught sight of the enemy Phoenix over there, but I think he's a bot. His ship hasn't moved for the entire game. His engines aren't running, but his guns are shooting. Well, there's the enemy Hermes. And don't forget, this is the guy whose aircraft spotted Jim as he was launching his torpedoes at the Hosho. And the Hermes is at least thinking, oh shit, an enemy destroyer. He's launched his rocket attack planes. But I can't help but feel that he'd be more successful in avoiding the inevitable torpedoes if his ship was actually moving as well. Jim's seen the aircraft, so he's turned away, and at the very worst he's going to be detected from 2.5 kilometers. And they're well over 3 kilometers away, so no problem. Looks like the Phoenix has finally started moving. That's nice. And of course, before the Hosho went down, it got its combat air patrol up, so they're still going to be circling over the Hosho's watery grave, so it's important that Jim gives them a wide berth as well. But what about the Hermes, Jingles? Cool ships don't look at explosions. Top tip. It's a lot easier to avoid torpedoes if your ship's actually moving. Well, the Phoenix is definitely not a bot. Possibly he was just AFK for the first half of the battle, but Jim has strayed dangerously close in order to get those torpedoes away, and did get detected. 5.4 kilometer surface detection range. He strayed within 5.3 kilometers of the Phoenix, so he pops his smoke. Because even though the Phoenix is the only one that spotted him, there are a lot of other enemy ships there, and it wouldn't do to have them all suddenly take an interest. Now, it would be wise to remember that the Phoenix is one of the few American cruisers that is armed with torpedoes. although the Phoenix's torpedoes do only have a 4.5 kilometer range. And at no point did the Phoenix get any closer than that. So even if the Phoenix has launched its torpedoes into this smokescreen, well, if Jim keeps reversing, he might actually be reversing into the Phoenix's torpedo range. So, yeah, that lack of hydro kind of works both ways, Jim. If that Phoenix did launch torpedoes, he won't see them inside this smokescreen until the last possible second, and actually no, he's moving forward again. He should be fine. Meanwhile, that last salvo of the Phoenix set a fire, which is continuing to burn, so there's the Confederate award. The Phoenix is continuing to burn, the fire might kill him. No, the fire is out. Okay, shot's out. And this is really the first point in the game where things start to get slightly tricky for Jim. His smokescreen is about to expire. The Phoenix has not died. And this Koenig is getting awfully close. Not only that, but the Koenig appears to understand that it makes things exponentially more difficult for a destroyer to land torpedoes on you if your ship is A, moving, and B, turning. Luckily for Jim, his torpedoes do reload fairly quickly, because he's never going to burn that battleship down with his guns. Right now he has 4 or 5 ships shooting at him, and that's really bad, because if they throw enough shit at the wall, some of it is going to stick. So, shots out at the Phoenix, who is dead in the water with his engine knocked out. Phoenix dead. Torpedoes hit the Koenig, double strike, Kraken unleashed. Still detected, because he recently fired the guns at the Phoenix, but all he has to do is hold his fire, and keep doing the hippie hippie shake there, and bingo, undetected. You know, it's kind of ironic, but the fact that the Kamikaze does have such incredibly shitty guns, 4 120mm guns, with a 10-second reload, and a range of only 8.7 kilometers with the upgraded fire control. But what that means is that when you fire the guns, you're only detected by anybody within 8.7 kilometers of you. You know, for a ship that relies primarily on its torpedoes, that's not actually a bad thing. I mean, if you think about it, the only 2 bad things, categorically and oh god, there's another kill. High caliber, 121,000 damage, kill number 6. But the only 2 categorically bad things about the Kamikaze are its terrible guns and its laughable anti-aircraft defense. But the fact that they are so bad can actually be good, because the ship is never going to be spotted because the anti-aircraft guns are firing. It'll be detected from the air long before that happens. And when it does fire its guns, it's still only visible out to a range of 8.7 kilometers, which for a lot of the ships that it's going to face is their base detection range without firing their guns. You know something's suspicious when the only 2 bad things about your ship actually turn out to have silver linings. I mean, is it any wonder that the Kamikaze is so popular with those people who managed to get it when it was on sale? And yet, unlike the Belfast, unlike the Kutuzov, I mean, with the Belfast I can understand, but the Kutuzov with the smoke-firing nerfs, nowhere near as dangerous as it used to be. Still a good ship, but nobody in their right mind would accuse the Kutuzov of being overpowered. And yet, the Kutuzov and the Belfast famously withdrawn from sale, and have never gone on sale since, although it is possible to get them inside certain premium containers under very rare circumstances. But the Kamikaze? Is it any more or less overpowered than the Belfast? And yet the Kamikaze is not on the list of ships that are so overpowered that they can never be put on sale again. Oh, he's detected again. He doesn't really seem to care though, does he? Well, nobody's aiming at him. Oh, man. Okay, they are now, but it might be too late. Then again, you know, I can't remember the last time the Kamikaze did go on sale, so, I mean, you could argue that about the Giulio Cesare as well. It's another Tier 5 premium that is considered to be overpowered, and yet has not explicitly been removed from sale, although it's been a while since you were actually able to get it. And there's kill number 7. Because Wargaming did famously announce, they never did it, they announced their plans to rebalance some of the premiums, starting with the Julio Cesare. Because in principle, you see, it was kind of comical. Everybody was saying, this ship is overpowered, it needs to be nerfed, and so on and so on and so on. So Wargaming said, okay, we're going to nerf it. And then everybody said, you'll get my Julio Cesare when you drag my cold dead fingers off of it. So they couldn't really win. And I have no doubt that if they had managed to, well, I know for a fact that if they'd managed to push out a nerf on the Julio Cesare, that ships like the Kamikaze would have been next. And then they would have looked at rebalancing the Belfast and the Kutuzov, and then they would have gone on sale again. But it was, well, here's the thing. What people say they want and what they actually want are often two very, very different things. People saying that they want overpowered ships and, you know, in World of Tanks, overpowered tanks to be rebalanced, as long as it's none of the overpowered ships or tanks that they actually own. What's that? You're going to nerf the Belfast? About damn time. Oh wait, I've got a Belfast. No, there's nothing wrong with the Belfast. It's not my fault that noobs don't know how to play against high explosive spamming cruisers that sit inside smoke screens and can't be torpedoed because they're running hydro and don't have to have anybody outside of the smoke screen to spot targets for them because they come with their own radar. Tell that damn whiny complaining player base... Oh my god, he's sunk another one. Yes, tell that damn whining, complaining, interfering player base to learn how to play and keep their hands off my Belfast. It was the same with the Julio Cesare. Everybody said, my god, this ship is disgusting. It really badly needs to be nerfed. Wargaming said, okay, we'll nerf it. Everybody said, oh, no you don't, sunshine. Not my ship. I paid good money for this thing. And so Wargaming had to shit-can their plans to rebalance overpowered premiums. Now, what I'm not saying is that it's our fault that overpowered premiums like the Kamikaze, the Fujin, the Kamikaze R, the Belfast, the Julio Cesare, and to a lesser degree these days the Mikhail Kutuzov. I'm not saying it's our fault that these ships exist, because we didn't put them into the game, did we? No, that was Wargaming. But what I am saying is that when it comes to the reasons why these ships are still as overpowered as they are, we have to accept some of the responsibility. Because Wargaming did try, and we said, nope, you'll get my overpowered premium when you drag my cold dead fingers off of it. Anyway, 8 kills. Can Jim make it 9? Oh, he's going for it. Going to try and ninja that one, but I don't think the shells are going to get there in time. Nope. Come on, Jim. Let somebody else have a kill. Oh, just the Koenig left. Can he set a fire? Oh, extreme limits of torpedo range. And he is targeting you. And he didn't set a fire. Oh, that's what happens when you get greedy, Jim. But the torpedoes are still in the water. The Koenig is, well, the torpedoes have a 7-kilometer range, but the Koenig was just less than 6 kilometers when he launched them. He is turning away, though. But wait, there are dive bombers coming in. Is this going to make him change course? He is changing course. He's going to sail right... Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. There's one. Yeah. No, the torpedo's expired. They must have scraped paint on the torpedo bulkhead. They were that close. This could very easily have been a 9-kill game. Sadly, Jim's just going to have to settle for 8. I know. What a tragedy. If I were you, Jim, I'd be outraged. I'd be demanding a refund. I think there's a clear case to be made here that the torpedoes on the Kamikaze need to be buffed. Who's with me? No? No, I didn't think so. Sorry, Jim, you're just going to have to settle for 8 kills, 500,000 credits, and 156,000 damage done in the Tier 5 premium Japanese destroyer, the Kamikaze. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.